Whitney's got a number of songs that you can pull from. And that's the thing that I was talking with people all weekend, because, the Grammys is here in L.A., so there's a ton of people in town. What I have found is there is no single person that I know in my life that doesn't have a Whitney song. Like, everyone's like, oh, my God, my favorite song is this, and my favorite song is this. And it was songs I hadn't even heard or hadn't thought of, and, like, I was like, oh, my gosh, I never thought about that song. Like, it's like she impacted so many lives. And her career spans so many generations. Phenomenal, the legacy she leaves behind.
Right. And for me, like, Michael Jackson, he was actually in my baby book as one of the most popular artists the years I was born.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't really, I enjoyed his music, but I can't say that I ever really owned his CDs, If I happened to have it, I did. I don't know. He just wasn't what Whitney kind of represented in my life. Like, her music, you have songs for every memory in your life. Like, my memories all revolve around music. This song will remind me of so-and-so or this situation or that situation. And, like, Whitney's CDs kind of, I grew up with them. And every CD she has, there's songs on each of those CDs that represented time in my life or the things that I was going through. So to know that I'm not going to have that again, it was kind of devastating.
Right. There are 2 songs that they're releasing at the end of the year, because she did a movie last year at the end. It's called Sparkle. And there are 2 new Whitney Houston songs that were already recorded. So we do have some things to look forward to, but I get it. Like, it's like, I always go, where were you when Michael Jackson died? Where were you now when Whitney Houston died? Like, I found out from you, Jeff. Jeff texted me and was like, I can't believe this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I had no clue what he was referring to. I'm in the car, and he goes, Whitney Houston died today. And I was like, are you sure? Go check and make sure it's not a hoax. Because, like, everybody, like, I think last month they were saying Eddie Murphy died, and they released a statement. His family was like, no, he's alive and well. Trust me. He's not dead. So it's like, there are always these hopes. And I know that she's had a very, like, the last, 5-10 years have been very publicly. So for a rumor like that, it's not unusual. And he goes, no, it's all over the TV. And I tell you this, I literally turned on the radio. You know how you have your program stations? I started pushing all the buttons. I've got 9 stations programmed into my radio. 6 of them had on Whitney Houston songs, and I knew right then it was not a lie. My heart just stopped. I was like, oh, my gosh. And it's such a sad thing. Gone too soon. 48 years old.
Right. I was in the middle of watching the Twilight Breaking Dawn with Joe. I get, my phone beeped, and it was Facebook, and it was our lovely little mascot there, the Angry Midget, posting, I can't believe Whitney Houston died. And I was like, bitch, you need to pay attention to what you're talking about. Like, this crap goes on all the time on Twitter, whatever. And I didn't really believe her. And I'm like, trying to text her back, and I'm like, yo, turn off the movie right now. I got to turn on CNN. And I turned it on, and I was just, like, dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. And I've been watching CNN since then. The only time I changed the channel was for the Grammys.
I'm addicted to every update. I'm addicted to every single thing that happens. I'm addicted. Like, I just cannot believe that she's dead. And then, like, her daughter, they had to take her to the hospital on, Sunday afternoon, I think. Just so devastating. Then there's footage of Bobby Brown performing and crying and, pointing to the sky and saying, I love you. It's just like people are bawling on like you said, the Grammys, people are on the red carpet crying. She was an idol to every single singer that's out right now, and no one compared to her. Like, not one single person could hold a torch to Whitney. Everybody wanted to be Whitney, like the Christina Aguileras, the Jennifer Hudsons, the Beyoncés. Everybody wanted to be Whitney at some point.
Yeah.
I think you wanted to sing. You wanted to sing a Whitney Houston song, right? Like, it was like, she was the big voice,
You look at how many
I can just imagine Whitney up in heaven right now looking down at Bobby Brown, who's up there yelling how much he misses her. You know what I think Whitney would say to him right now? I think she might say this.
Well, he pulled a clip from, you remember the Being Bobby Brown, the TV show. That was kind of a train wreck. Yeah. But, I kind of went back yesterday on Sunday, and I was watching some of the episodes because I was trying to find the one. One of my favorite things from that show was when she was like, Bobby, Bobby, I love you, Bobby. Like, she was just so quirky, and she was very real, I thought, on that show. Like, she did not care, you know, and I think she caught a lot of flack for it, but she was being who she is in her day life. She didn't have no makeup on. She was wearing her visors, and she didn't care.
I think what it showed was their dynamic, and then it also showed that she wasn't this perfect image, this perfect cutout girl next door. She was a real woman in a real marriage that obviously had real problems. They were dealing with a lot. Being Bobby Brown and being Whitney Houston was not easy, you know. It was crazy. I think that was the show that it really made people go, wow, you know, there might be a problem here. Because you're right, she was quirky. There was kind of erratic behavior going on, and people didn't expect to see Whitney like that. They didn't expect the so real Whitney. I wonder if Bravo's going to re-release it.
You know, I saw a lot of tweets going out asking for Bravo to do a marathon. There was talks in 2008 of them releasing it on DVD, but Whitney wouldn't clear it. And the reason why, I mean, the show was actually a killer in the ratings, but Whitney would not come back for the second season. And the first season almost didn't happen because they would not do a reality show with Bobby Brown without Whitney, and she finally signed on. And I think after the first season, she just caught so much flack.
Yeah, and their marriage was really ending around that time.
I mean, it was only 2 years later, really.
Yeah, it was really sad, though. You saw their dynamic. Like, you saw where, you know, she overshadowed him, and that was a tough pill for him to swallow, and you know, I remember there was did you see the episode where they went away for the weekend? He and her, I don't know, I can't remember. And the guy was like, oh, you're Whitney Houston's husband. Yeah. And he was like, I'm Whitney Houston's husband. Like, it was one of those things where he's like, I've had platinum albums, I've done this, I've done that, and I'm still Whitney Houston's husband. On a lesser scale, they were kind of the Ike and Tina Turner of this generation. I mean, obviously not onto the scale of the depths of issues that I know of what Ike and Tina went through. But it really was, that's what they were to me. You know, they were the Ike and Tina Turner, and I felt like they maybe watched that movie one too many times. You know what's funny, though? I read an article yesterday that kind of was like a chronicle of how the rise and kind of fall of Whitney and this, what it kind of, you know, in the show, being Bobby Brown was one of those pivotal moments. They were saying, like, when she did the interview with Oprah, where she said that Bobby was her drug. She said, he's my drug. I was addicted to him. And you saw that in that series where she was madly in love with this man, you know, and functional as it was, they were madly in love with each other. It was like almost yin and yang, you know. They kind of were crazy together. I don't know that anyone will ever understand their relationship or understand their divorce, and there was obviously drugs. They admitted to that there was drug use and that, and you know, any kind of relationship with drug use, it's doomed.
Right.
But then they also I think it's about how they separated and got divorced, and they've been divorced for 4 or 5 years. And they said, and you know, she still had problems and still had substance abuse issues. She still went in and out of rehab, and it was one of those things where they go, he might have been her drug, but she continued, and it was just as sad. Like, everyone is just so heartbroken, and I think everyone's at a place where they're kind of like, could they have done something? I mean, obviously, we don't know if she had drugs in her system. Just the details of her death, you know, her potentially falling asleep in the tub and, you know, potentially being on Xanax and potentially mixing alcohol with that. I mean, there are a lot of things that are kind of pointing to that maybe she accidentally ate herself and maybe accidentally drowned. So, I mean, it's all speculation until the autopsy and all the results, but it's just so tragic. One of the things that's going on with the autopsy.
So unexpected. I mean, I would have, you know, thought we would have seen Lindsay Lohan go before Whitney Houston.
I think it was definitely a shock, but one of the things that's going on with the autopsy is that they sealed it until the toxicology report comes out in 4 to 6 weeks. They're not talking about it, which has raised a lot of flags. You're watching CNN and all the talking heads, and they're like, you know, they said that this wasn't a murder investigation or, you know, there was no foul play involved. Well, then why are they sealing?
Well, you know why? This is why I think
normal.
They're sealing it because they know that people don't just fall asleep in a tub and drown. Like, that doesn't happen, you know? So there has to be something that put her to that deep of a sleep to where she did not wake up when she was inhaling water. Like, so they don't want to, and I think, again, it's like one of those things, she's America's darling. They don't want to put anything out there that potentially, you know, toxicology report may say she didn't have anything in her system. Or, I don't know. It's kind of like Amy Winehouse. She didn't want to say it was drugs, but they knew that you don't just at 20, how old was she, like 24?
27.
You don't just die. 27. You don't just die of natural causes at 27. So we've got to wait and see what comes back, and then we end up finding out that she had drank herself to death, essentially.